Red Tractor was the brand. No, it wasn't, and I'm going to tell you for why. One of the big issues seems to be that there's a lot of confusion around what is a brand. So I'm going to give you my 2 pence worth just now. And it starts with this question up here. Wasn't Red Tractor meant to be the brand? Lots of people commented on my previous video saying that Red Tractor was meant to be the brand that British Farming congregated around. But it wasn't, and I think it raises a very important point. And that is the difference between brand and branding. Yes, Red Tractor was branded, i.e. there was the little Red Tractor logo with a certified standard slogan on it. What I would call the branding elements of it, but it was never a brand. Brand plays at a much higher level. It's not your logo or your colour scheme or a slogan. It's an intangible, emotional connection between a company and their customers. Think of brand as an experience that you have with a company. It's how it makes you feel. Red Tractor didn't, as far as I can see, do any of that. It's a quality standard, a benchmark on which consumers can trust. And you might argue that that in and of itself constitutes a brand, but in this day and age, it's not good enough. So let's have a little chat between the two of us, just you and me, about quality. Because we spend an awful lot of our time as an industry talking about quality. If you want a strong brand in this day and age, you cannot build it on quality. Why? Because it means nothing and does nothing to differentiate you. So from a branding perspective, it is pointless. Back in the day, and I'm talking the 50s or the 60s, quality actually meant something. Production standards aren't anywhere near as high as they are today. If you bought a cheap car, it'd probably break down every couple of 100 miles. Whereas if you bought a better quality car, it would last you longer, it would go further, it would save you the pain and misery of having a breakdown. Production standards have advanced so much that quality is no longer a meaningful differentiator. Quality is just an entry-level requirement that allows you access to play the game. And on the flip side, if you're not producing a quality product, then what are you doing? Nowadays, it's expected. It's a given. It's no longer a differentiator. Yet, so many of the marketing campaigns and assurance bodies that we have within the industry focus on exactly this. Red Tractor, AHDB, Leaf, and we've even got Quality Meat Scotland. The clue's in the name, who all rant on about how our produce is produced to the highest welfare standards. It's grass-fed, it's small batch, it's hand-reared. And these are all features and benefits. They're just alternative ways of saying we're better. As an industry, we've fallen into the better trap. I'm not saying that they're not valuable or beneficial. They are, but they do not contribute to a strong brand. If you want a strong brand, you have to be different, not better. And I mean really different. I'm going to use BrewDog as an example. And before you get on your high horse and say, oh, they're terrible and I wouldn't be taking advice from a company like that, I think we actually can learn a lot from them, and whatever way you try and cut it, they have been hugely successful. When BrewDog started out, the beer scene in the UK looked like this. It was filled from 3.8% pints from companies that focus on brewing tradition and heritage. BrewDog knew that in order to succeed in a horrendously competitive market, they would have to be different and not better than the competition. And this wasn't just in product differentiation, but also in the way that they spoke, the way that they behaved, what they believed in as a company. Beyond all the marketing and PR stunts, it is their brand that has really set them apart and carried them to the success that they have achieved. So what is a brand? Well, the best way that I've had it described to me is that brands are like people. They're the business equivalent of people. They look a certain way, they talk a certain way, they behave in a certain way. They make you laugh, smile, feel inspired, give you hope, or at least they should. Think about it like going to a party. Who do you want to speak to? Do you want to speak to the boring guy who sits in the corner and only talks about himself? Or do you want to speak to the person who's fun, energetic, outgoing, who makes you smile, makes you laugh, entertains you? For me, it would be the latter. Despite everyone's best wishes, the supermarkets and supply chain that we have here in the UK are here to stay. They're not going anywhere, and so it is in our interest to work with the system rather than try and work against it. There are lots of things out with our control, but one of the things that we do have control over is how we are perceived, how we engage and how we interact with consumers, and ultimately as an industry, how we make people feel. We know that we have the best quality produce in the world, produced to the highest welfare standards and in the most sustainable way. So let's build on that and create a brand that does our produce and our industry justice.